finite mentality, infinitesimal reality. Deeper than the mind can conceive, yet simultaneously having the ability to do so. Inside the world of New Thought and Transcendentalism. In the Know with Phil Hayes starts right now. I think, therefore I am. Or something like that. Maybe not. Not so fast. Maybe you are more than what you think. Far more. Transcendentalism has given rise to New Thought, a concept which challenges people to think outside the box, literally. Proponents of New Thought ascribe to the notion that the mind thinks infinitely, far beyond any finite or earthly understanding that we have on this side of the sphere. Little by little, a paradigm shift of sorts is beginning to happen between various schools of thought across the world. A shift so great that the schools of thought between religion, which is based upon faith, and the school of thought between science, which is based upon empirical fact, are actually converging to work together. So as the infamous Jack Nicholson line goes in the movie Batman, let's broaden our minds. And we're here with Reverend Iris Sauber. She is the founder of the Center of Conscious Living in Eldersburg, Maryland. Hi, Iris. How are you?
Good to see you, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a guest on our show.
My pleasure.
Tell us how you came about founding and creating the Center for Conscious Living.
Well, I guess it goes back, Phil, quite some time now. Maybe 18 years ago, I was looking for community and a teaching that I felt was right for me. And I had friends that were in this teaching that we call religious science, and I, like many others, thought it had something to do with Scientology. So for years I stayed away from it. And then I found myself about 18 years ago in a place where I thought I really needed a community and a teaching that resonated with me. Why not check it out? So I went to a center at the time that was meeting in Timonium, Maryland, and the minute I walked in the door and heard that speaker, I just knew that I was where I should be. I felt like I had come home.
Can you explain to our viewers here the concept of, one of the tenets rather, of your church, which is the concept of New Thought, and how that applies not just to people in your own church, but also to people, just regular people in their own, daily lives?
It really applies to everybody. The New Thought movement was born out of the Transcendentalist movement in New England in the 1800s, where you had Emerson and Thoreau and Alcott and other new thinkers saying, we're not real happy with the status quo. There's got to be a new way to do things, a new idea, a new thought. And they didn't like the fear and control and the guilt of the traditional institutions of the time, and they felt that there could be something more loving, more supportive, more connected to people. And that's how the movement began. It's been influencing our culture forever. The AA program was influenced by New Thought. all the spiritual authors from today, Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, Eckhart Tolle, Wayne Dyer, they're all teaching what we teach, which is that our thoughts have creative power, and that it's our thoughts and our feelings and the vibrations we send out into the universe that attract and bring into our lives the experiences we'll have. And so we like to teach people a practical approach to really create the life that they want. It means if you want a better life, you have to work on yourself. And they go running down the street. That's not what I showed up for. And then we have the ones that come and they go, yeah, I get it. I really have the ability to change my life by changing my thinking, by changing my actions, by changing the way I perceive things in my life. And we don't teach you how to think, what to think. We try to teach you how to think. What you think is up to you. How you choose is up to you. But can we make you aware? The reason I chose the name consciousness for our center is consciousness is an awareness. Once you're aware and awake, you can't really go back to sleep. And so my goal was to wake people up to the power that they have. So they recognize that every single thing they do is like a ripple in the pond. And it's affecting them and it's affecting other people. In our centers, there are teachers such as myself that start you off on the basic classes, and you can progress along the way if you'd like. We believe in the power of prayer. We believe in the power of healing prayer. So one of the very first things you learn is how we pray. We pray affirmatively. So my teacher was the spiritual leader of the community I came out of, but the classes that you take have you reading all kinds of writers. So I read Emerson. I took him not only in college, because one of my undergraduate degrees is in English, but then I took him again as a spiritual class with a different take on the same writing. You know, when anybody that's read Emerson knows he wrote The Oversoul, and he talked about our soul, meaning the divine part of us, the godlike part of us, which is our soul, our eternal self. And he writes about that. And he writes about the law of compensation and the law of correspondence. These are universal spiritual laws that we teach. And if people understand them, they can use them. You know, the law of creation is a constant. Spirit is always creating. Whether or not we direct that is up to us. So we can get, by default or by design, that which we desire or not. And so we try to teach people how to align themselves with this power of creation. And Emerson wrote about that. Eckhart Tolle writes about it. Louise Hay certainly writes about it. She's the same kind of minister I am. She trained in New York City before she moved to California. She mentions it in her movie, in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. That You Can Heal Your Life came out of our form of prayer, which is affirmative prayer. We don't ask God to give us anything. We declare that it's already been given because we already have everything. How we see it's up to us.
You know, in my research on your church, on your center, you also mentioned meditation
Yes.
and visioning.
Yes.
Can you expand upon that a
Yes.
little bit, please?
We believe that there's a lot of spiritual practices that can assist us in awakening and aligning with the truth of who we are. Affirmative prayer always. Meditation, quieting that monkey mind, that ego mind. You know, the mind is a powerful thing, and when I say mind, it's that voice that's within us that we all have had, that some have had an experience of where the voice says, be careful, don't do that, or be mindful, or, you know, take a second thought. We all have that in us. And the mind, the ego mind, is taking it all in, running it through our little computer, and making assessments and judgments about it. But they're not all accurate. So we believe that if we can quiet that ego mind during a time of meditation and silence, then we get to hear the voice of spirit, which is the mind behind all of that, speaking through us. How else would spirit be able to communicate with us? We don't have a picture of God in the sky sitting on a throne with a beard. No, to us, God is a presence, indwelling. And this is what the Christ taught. He said, the Father within does the work. The things that I do, you can do, and greater. We teach the Christ consciousness. We just don't teach it with all the attachments to, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. We believe God is love, nothing else, only love. That we were born out of love, to be loved and to love, period. And so the meditation is a way of us quieting that ego mind long enough that the wisdom that's already within us can bubble up.
Now, see, I've noticed that you've mentioned spirit, and I know that you say that God is spirit.
Yes.
Another person that I hear a lot that has mentioned God as spirit is one of the proponents of the law of attraction, and that is Esther Hicks. She uses the term spirit all the time.
Right. We teach the law of attraction.
Now, yeah, off camera we talked about that, and we talked about the movie The Secret.
Yes.
And a lot of people have come to me on the law of attraction show that I've done, either through email or whatnot, and they've asked, yeah, I've seen the movie, I've tried to do all of this visioning and vision boards and all these other things. How accurate is The Secret, the movie, to the way as compared to how you all teach?
I'm really glad you're asking this question, because I'm going to share the real secret that wasn't revealed in the movie The Secret. So listen up. The Secret was very accurate, the film, in a lot of ways. I think it made it sound a little too simplistic. We all know, and psychiatrists know, and psychology knows, that there's more than one mind in man. We have our conscious thinking, choosing mind, and we have our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is subject to everything we put into it. It can't say, I refuse those ideas. We call it subjective mind because it's subject to what you put in it. Okay, so objective mind is your conscious thinking, choosing mind. And let's say I choose to be prosperous. And I do all these things. I do affirmative prayer, I make my little vision board, I do my meditation. But deep within me, I grew up in a household where my father said, you'll never amount to anything. You're no good. You're just like your so-and-so, and I've given up on you. So in my childhood, I've grown up with this belief that I'm not worthy, that I'm not good enough, that I can't ever amount to anything, because this is what my father taught me about myself. So deep within my soul is a belief that I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy. My conscious mind is saying, I want prosperity. I want the best job. I want lots of cash. I want a great car. I want a beautiful home. But my inner voice is going, you'll never get that. You're not worthy. You don't deserve that. Guess what, Phil? We won't create it. Because the secret is it all has to be congruent. It all has to be aligned. And if we want the experience we say we want, we have to weed out and flood out and get rid of these old false beliefs. They're like stones on our back. We carry them around our whole lives till we choose to find a way to get rid of them. To just say, I'm done. I don't accept this as my truth anymore. This is a false belief I'm harboring, and I'm getting rid of this.
You teach positive prayer classes.
We do.
Called Spiritual Mind Treatment.
Yes.
One of the viewers wants to know, if they were interested in participating and learning more about your spiritual mind treatment classes, what exactly would those classes entail?
Well, our classes we have classes that are accredited that can lead to a master's degree, an accredited master's degree in consciousness studies. We also have workshops and classes that are not accredited. We will forever be teaching prayer because our form of prayer is very different than most people. So I'm going to show you how we teach it to the kids. We put their hands up, and here's the way we do it. Are you ready to receive? The first R is recognition, that there's only one power, and that power is spirit. U is unification. I am one with spirit, because I was created out of it. God is the ocean, I am the wave. R is realization. This is declaring what it is that we desire. So let's say we want better health. We might say, spirit is perfect health and well-being, and I am perfect health and well-being. At a spiritual level, that is the truth. There's a piece of us, Phil, the eternal part of us, can never be changed. It can never be hurt. It can never be diminished. It can never be touched. It's always going to be perfect. It's that God part of us that's going on for eternity. Once we shed this human body, the essence of who we are is moving on. That's what I'm talking about in perfection. So there's recognition that there's only God, unification, that you and God are together in one, realization, stating what you want. I desire a experience of health and well-being because I'm made of spirit, and spirit is perfect health and well-being. T, thanksgiving. You gotta always give thanks. Gratitude is a biggie in all areas of our lives. And when do we say thank you? We normally say thank you when something's been given. So we're saying thank you because we believe the health and well-being has already been given. And the last one, R, is release. We release it. We give it up to Spirit, the Creator. We are not creators. We are merely co-creating, using the power of Spirit to create what we want in our lives. We're saying thank you, knowing that Spirit's going to work for us in our lives to bring about the health, or fill in the blank of what it is I'm praying for.
And that's right along the line with consciousness that you mentioned earlier. And this is, I know that this is one of the ways that you all use consciousness to help your worshipers, if you will, to manifest these things in their own lives, positive things. Along with consciousness, how are, again, consciousness and affirmative prayer, how do those two work hand in hand together to help your worshipers?
Well, we believe everything is consciousness. If we want the law of attraction to work in our lives, what we know is what I shared is that we have to be congruent, and everything has to be aligned. That is how we raise our vibrations to attract into our lives the things that we want.
I came across a term called religious science.
Right.
Now, we all know that there are doctors. I mean, I just finished a book called, turn around and forgot that. I'm turning around, I'm forgetting it. It's by Dr. Eben Alexander, just came out. But it's the power of living,
Right.
I think it is. The power of living or something like that.
Isn't he the doctor that said he had an experience?
Yes, exactly,
Right.
exactly. Now, see, I mentioned that, and I'm trying to line this up for all of the viewers here. I mentioned that because, doctors always seem to think they know more
Right.
than people who study and follow faith.
Right.
Almost to an impenetrable arrogance, if you
Yes,
will.
you're right.
And I think this Dr. Alexander hit the nail on the head.
You forgot I had a cuckoo clock.
How apropos that was. Okay, no, it's not like that. Again, I'm just trying to line up how doctors think that they know more than people who are involved in religion as such, with that kind of arrogance, quote unquote, that they have. Is there any way that religion and science can coexist? And, what exactly are some of your ideas on that?
Well, the term religious science was coined because we believe that our prayer treatments are provable. The scientific part of showing demonstrations. This is why our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, called this teaching religious science. Because he believed that with the power of spirit, everything is possible, and that he could prove it. And we have proof. We've had people that have had amazing demonstrations. But we don't turn our back like Christian Science on medical treatment. We believe a pillar of prayer. It's all God. So it doesn't matter. Spirit is working through the hands of those doctors. They are not the healers. There's only one healer. And that healer can heal everything. That's what the Christ taught. When he told the blind man he could see, when he healed the man who was crippled, and he said to him, get up and walk. Because he had a consciousness for knowing that the Spirit of God works.
This is where I kind of take a bit of a personal privilege here because, again, in doing my research on your website, one of the things that actually confounded me, in a positive way, of course, and I actually wrote this down here on my tablet. I wanted to share this. One of the tenets of your church is the control of your own conditions through the power of the universal mind.
Right.
Profound and curious, both at the same time. What exactly does that mean?
Well, I explained to you already that we believe there's only one mind, one intelligence, and that instilled in us is our peace, so to speak. See, part of the problem we have, Phil, with this or almost any big teaching, is sometimes our vocabulary doesn't fit. So if I align my thinking with the power of the universe, because that's what we're talking about here, recognizing the truth of who I am, which is spirit having a human experience, then everything is possible in my life and the conditions no longer appear. Why? Because I'm looking beyond the conditions. I am not my conditions. I am way more than any experience that comes into my life. Whether it's health, job loss, love loss, sickness, it doesn't matter what it is. If I drove out of here tomorrow and I had a car accident, I'm not the car accident. That's a temporary condition. That's the other point. Everything here is temporary. This is not a permanent experience. We are here by a divine invitation because something in us said, yes, I'll put on that earth suit. I'll cloak myself in that human flesh and I'll go try that out. Because something in my soul wanted this experience. And when I'm ready to shed this human body, I'm going back to where I came, to the next great experience as the eternal self that I am. Who we are is yay big. The little self that we are is the one that's learned to negotiate this stage of life that we're in. Heaven or hell is right where we are. We're creating it in our mind. We choose, is this experience I'm having hell or is this experience I'm having heaven? And what did I base my perception on? All of my past experiences, which I attach to an emotion, which sends out a vibration, which brings into itself like vibrations. Why things happen is immaterial. What we have to learn is that right this minute, we get to create what's going to happen to us tomorrow by making a new choice today, by seeing our lives through the bigger picture than the little narrow experiences we've had here in this physical world. Everything in this world is temporary. Eventually, it's all going to die. That's what happens. Flowers, plants, animals, and people. None of us are here forever. What isn't going to die is our soul.
Wow. Profundity is indeed superfluous. That is amazing.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Iris, for all of the time. This is ultra powerful stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to have the time with you.
I'm honored.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be right back with more In the Know in just a moment. We are the sum total of our past experiences. Our self-limiting beliefs prove that. Who we are and what we are, and everything that we've ever accomplished or not, is in direct correlation to what we've been led to think and or taught to believe about ourselves. Again, all based on finite understanding. We spoke a lot about death and near-death experiences in this particular episode. I want to share something with you. This show is being taped Easter weekend 2013. In church service this morning, yes, I made it to church. No joke there. We sang the Hymn of Promise. Verse 3 is probably the most poignant of that entire hymn. I'd like to share it with you. In our end is our beginning. In our time, infinity. In our doubt, there is believing. In our life, eternity. In our death, a resurrection. At the last, a victory. Unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. Reverend Sauber was right. Once we pass, we no longer cease to exist. Our physical might, but our soul and our spirit drifts on to eternity. The connection between us and the infinite intelligence is only a small layer thick. I must admit that sometimes I've questioned why God would give us this finite level of understanding. For example, when someone passes, we mourn, we cry. Some people take things to the extreme as far as how they process grief. On a finite level of understanding, we do that because there's only so much that we understand. We don't understand that that person has gone on to a better eternity and they're waiting for us. All we understand is that we missed them, and we wonder what life is going to be without them. Again, I've questioned why God has given us this level of finite understanding and challenges us to learn more. Many of us can't step outside the box to take that step. Most people are not that courageous. But I guess it boils down to the old adage. Why? He asks. That's for him to know and for us to find out. I'm Phil Hayes, and you're in the know. We'll see you next time.